Jim Feist, Hank Goldberg here in Las Vegas. Hank, you got to say, man, you kicked butt in the Saratoga races, and you had some football winners, and we got a lot of news to talk about. Of course, everybody's talking about Andrew Luck and all that, and it's an unfortunate situation. But how are you today?
Good. I had the wrong side in the. I had Florida against Miami, but I also had the under, so I split that game. That was a terrible football game as far as turnovers, and they just kept handing the ball off to one another. I thought that the Florida offense, with their turnovers and their mistakes and their penalties, had a very poor game, and they're going to be in trouble later on if they play like that. Although Miami's defense is very good. I think Diaz is going to do a good job with their defense. They've got a very strong defense with a very good secondary. And, Miami's got some easy games coming up. And I think Miami has a good chance to win their division, which is, but then they'll be up against, Clemson, and then they got no shot. But they've got they'll come along. They've got the freshman quarterback who made a lot of mistakes and made some big plays too. They have a decent running back, but the mistakes were frequent. They do have a very good kicker, and then they just. There was one preseason game that bothered me, and that was Houston. We've criticized their coach before, but their starting running back, their leading running back the last 3 years went out with a torn ACL on the second play of the game, and he benched everybody. Second play of the game, he took everybody out. Didn't play any starters the rest of the game, and they got blown out. This was supposed to be dress rehearsal week, and it turned out not to be that because he overreacted to the one injury. And so nobody got to play against Dallas, which really ticked off their fans because they like to play well against Dallas normally. But that's what happened in that game.
Yeah. Speak.
The Travers was an interesting race. It was a very good race. ESPN put me on SportsCenter Saturday morning. They played my tape from the gaming show. Because I was the only guy breaking down the race. The bear, who sometimes does it, was off doing football. So I thought that, by the way, they put a lot of good people on that show Saturday. That's a good football show. Glad to see Lee Corso still going strong at age 83. That's great.
Wow. And
he's a good man. And but they had Spurrier on the show. It was a very well-produced, good show. For the pregame shows, their college football show was terrific. But anyway, I was on SportsCenter Saturday morning, and predicting the outcome of the Travers, and my analysis was right on the money. I did not like the outside speed out of the 12 post because I said that Mucho Gusto, the Baffert horse, would have the lead. He ran third. I had him underneath. But Sugar McGahee won the race. Tacitus was second again. And I said he had seconditis. and Sugar's horse came in the winner, and he was 4-1. And the exacta came back around $30, $27, $30. It was good. I made a few $100s on the race because I had to pick three. I had the races, the first two races before that. So, the Travers was good to me. So it was a good weekend all along.
Well, that's great. I know we had some happy customers, and I did well for the weekend as well. You brought up a little bit of the AFC South, and how does that shape up now? You got Jacksonville with the new quarterback. You got Brissett's going to be the quarterback in Colts with the Colts. You got the chaos with Houston, and they're a mash unit with the injuries and stuff they got going on, and their offensive line is not very good.
And their defensive and their top defensive rusher is not signed, and he's leaving.
Yeah, that seems to be. And then we got Tennessee, and I know you've had some positive thoughts about Tennessee. I personally,
I'll tell you something interesting about Tennessee. I did the show with Michael Lombardi yesterday, and Matt Yeoman, when he started out with me, he said, Michael Lombardi is very curious as to what your thoughts on Tennessee. And I said, well, that's interesting that you would ask. And I told him what my thoughts were on Tennessee. And I gave them a very positive prediction for the season. And Michael said, I agree with everything you said about them. I said, well, it must be a Jersey thing because he's from New Jersey and I am. And he started laughing. But he likes Tennessee, too, for the same reasons that I do. The one thing I don't like about Tennessee is I think that Tannehill's overrated. I watched them against Pittsburgh yesterday. Remember, Tennessee has not had their top running back for preseason. They have not used him at all. And that's a big... When he's playing, they're a different team. But they have good... Tannehill has the same problems there that he had with Miami. He's not aware of the pass rush. He holds the ball too long. And it all surfaced yesterday against Pittsburgh's defense, which is pretty good. And so he looked bad. You know, he just got sacked far too many times. And he just, and he was sacked mainly holding the ball too long and getting hit from behind. That was his problem in Miami. And so I think Mariota is going to be their guy. All these people who are saying, oh, they got Tannehill, it's great. It's not always great. Just so I throw that in. And I'll tell you something else, too. I thought that Jacksonville looked terrible this preseason. Foles, I think we talked about this, is not a guy who has played well except for the couple of years in Philadelphia. I just think Jacksonville is overrated. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Tennessee. But they haven't moved the number on them as far as season totals is concerned.
well, they've really... some of the books on the East Coast have refunded tickets, and Westgate is going to refund tickets on most valuable player, that the bets that were made on luck. They're going to refund those tickets. Some of the books on the East Coast is refunding tickets, any tickets that had to do with that division and stuff like that when people bet on the Colts. And the Andrew Luck situation has really thrown a lot of... It's a shame at 29 years old with all that talent, but I guess his body just can't hold up. And we saw the same thing with Gronk. He retired at 29 also this year. So it's, you know...
Yeah, but Gronk's had a full career. And, you know, he didn't waste any time retiring. You know, he assessed it pretty much right away. And he went out on top. And, you know, the Gronk situation was not handled, you know, 2 weeks before the season started.
Yeah, well, this kid is hurt, and I don't know. I guess emotionally it took a lot out of him being on rehab for 2 years. Came back last year, though. He was comeback player of the year, a remarkable season. It's just one of those things. And
then he got hurt in March.
Right. But he hasn't. His rehab hasn't helped. He hasn't improved at all.
No, but the thing with him was he was comeback player of the year because he was okay last year. But then he got hurt in March, and he's been trying to get well, and they kept changing the outlook for him. And he just got worn out with it, and he wasn't getting any better. And he couldn't practice, and he couldn't play he couldn't perform in the OTAs, and he couldn't perform in preseason. And this was a different injury, and he just got tired of rehabbing every year. And so, you know, unfortunately, the decision had to be made 2 weeks before the start of the season.
Well, I applaud him for backing away if he's not happy and go on. There is life after football, and I wish him all the best. Now Jacoby Brissett. When Jacoby Brissett was with New England, people thought very highly of him, and he was there, I believe, at the same time Garoppolo was there, and that was quite a. I mean, they were pretty good quarterbacks at the time, and Brissett's really never had much of a chance as the first string guy, except filling in as an injury situation. What do you think? You think he has an upside that we should be aware of?
Well, he was 4-11 as a starter for Indianapolis, but that was before Indianapolis had put a team together. Now, he's been practicing. The upside is that he has been working with the first team all year this year. So, he's got that going for him. And they think that, that he's better than 4-11 because now they have a strong offensive line to protect him. And they also have, some good receivers that they didn't have before. And their defense is much better than it was. So they think they can compete with them.
Well, in that division...
Yeah, the downside is if they had known in advance, if they had known that Luck was going to be not available at the same time that Gronk had told New England that he wasn't going to be available, they could have gone out and signed Foles.
Well, as you said, Foles has had one real special... His performances when he was with Philadelphia have been remarkable. That goes back a number of years. But other times, he has not looked anywhere near that. He works very well under a certain scheme, and Jacksonville's going to have to put that scheme in place for him to be successful. And if they do that, then they might have an upside because they do.
Well, he might have been okay with the scheme that Indianapolis plays, and they have a good coaching staff. Which at Jacksonville, I'm questioning what Marone is doing with that team. They've looked bad this preseason.
Yeah, they have.
And Foles has not been playing well.
Yeah, you're right. He has not, and they have not. Now, the Colts, they have now dropped some of the places out there have the win total for them. It's East Coast stuff. 6.5. I think that's a little low, a little too much of an overreaction. Because that division that they're in, they're still capable of winning that division. The other teams are not that strong that they can run away with it. Those four teams easily could be, 8-8 all across the board, or 7-9, or something like that. And 8-8 could win that division.
Well, I think they could possibly split with Tennessee. They could possibly split with Houston. I don't see them winning any series with any of the three teams. I think they could lose to any one of those, two of those three teams, and I think they could split possibly with all three.
Well, it should be interesting. Anything else on we're into football now, college and pro. We got a lot of games coming up this weekend. The college is open wide up. Pro football goes to week 4 of the preseason, which is really a lot of people just don't play at all. And
that's right. You won't see anybody.
Yeah, right.
I think that the quarterback situation with the Giants is interesting because Jones has really played well every chance he's had. And his numbers are strong, and a lot of people are clamoring for him to replace Eli, and soon. I don't know what Eli's life expectancy with the Giants is going to be, but their rookie quarterback has excelled in preseason. That's one situation to keep an eye on. Outside of that, I looked at some of the teams this year. I think that one thing that Lombardi and I disagreed on, he does not like Trubisky at all. He doesn't think he's any good. And he thinks that he's going to drag the Bears down. He thinks that when they're in a close game, he can't deliver. He's not a guy who can, he doesn't think he's a guy who can carry the Bears in a key situation. I think he's improved each year, and I think he's good enough. I think he can manage an offense, and they've got the running game and a great defense, and Nagy I think is a terrific coach. So, but he thinks that he mentioned the fact that the Bears have lost their defensive coordinator, and he's not as high on the Bears as I am. That's the one area where we disagree.
Well, they open up against Green Bay. They host Green Bay on Thursday night game. That's the first game of the NFL's regular season. They're a 3 or 3.5 point favorite over the Green Bay Packers. And I guess we all wonder what this Green Bay situation is going to look like with all the changes that they made. Of course, they have the primo quarterback that
who hasn't played yet.
Right. He has not played yet. But that's a tough matchup. Green Bay is as long as you have Aaron Rodgers on the field, you got a chance. Although he has not played to that level in a few years. That'll be interesting. We got some divisional matchups coming up. You got Buffalo at the Jets, Washington at Philly, the Green Bay.
Washington announced their quarterback, Case Keenum, is going to be their starter.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Colt McCoy getting hurt sort of cleared that path.
Well, a lot of people were thinking that maybe the kid from Ohio State was going to get that job.
Yeah, well, that's tough to come out of college and just start like that. But
he had a sensational summer. He's really looked good.
The Chargers were a 3-point favorite over Indianapolis. Now they're 7. That's the move off of Andrew Luck situation. And the total went from 48 down to 45.
That's the first break the Chargers have had this summer.
Any news on Gordon, their running back?
No news on him. And they can't come to terms with him. I think that's a problem. The other situation is, of course, their Pro Bowl safety's out. That's tough on their defense. Although they do have the outside pass rush that's going to be good. And the Raiders just signed an interior lineman who would play for the Chargers. And they're making some strong moves in Oakland.
Well, I know they went out and tried to do a lot in the preseason, and they put in an effort. Now, that fiasco they played up in Winnipeg, on an 80-yard field. I don't know what the NFL's thinking when they do stuff like that. But Denver is the late game on Monday, September 9th. They play at Oakland. Oakland opened a 2.5 point favorite, now a 1 or 1.5 point favorite in that game. And there's a big quarterback change for Denver. They go to Flacco. Denver, of course, comes in with a primo defense. They have very strong in that department. That's another division game. There's a lot of division games this week. And, of course, the big game, the Sunday night game, is the Steelers at the Patriots. The Patriots are 6-point favorite. Total is 51.5.
I'll tell you something. The Patriots defense has looked tremendous this summer. they're going to be ready.
They seem to put a little bit more emphasis on the preseason this year than they have in the past.
Well, I think I talked about this the other day. Belichick took them on the road. Their one weakness last year was they weren't that strong on the road, so he kept them on the road throughout the summer to get them used to traveling and not being home, so that they would improve in that area.
Yep. Yeah, that seems to work. Anything else you want to talk about, Hank, before we sign off for today?
Yeah, Saturday is the Del Mar Futurity. Baffert has a horse called Six Rings, who is lightning fast. You'll want to watch that if you're a horse fan. Also, the baseball pennant races are winding down, and St. Louis has been playing well lately, and they're really making a run. In the National League in Washington has also been strong. They're on a winning streak right now. Other than that, I don't really have anything.
Yeah, there's a big game today between St. Louis and Milwaukee. It's Wainwright against Gonzalez. Gonzalez, home team. Milwaukee's a 131 favorite in that game. That is going to be a war because it's a big game for Milwaukee, especially. Not that it's not for St. Louis, but they have a two-game lead. Milwaukee is chasing. That's a huge game in baseball for today. Yankees took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, and a lot of people didn't think that would happen.
I'll tell you one thing I took away from that series, and that is the Judge. The Judge really hitting the ball right now. He had a home run in each of the 3 games. Now they move up north, but that's one thing that's in the Yankees' favor is that he's hitting the long ball again with consistency, and that's big for them.
That they have one hell of a lineup. It's hard to get through that lineup for 9 innings, and they just hurt you. It's really going to be. He had
gone into a home run slump for a while,
right?
But he's hitting the ball again and hitting it for distance.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I look forward to it. Hank, we'll talk again on Wednesday. Have a great day.
You too. Take care, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We offer a free pick. You just have to go to our website and sign up for it, jimfeist.com. And we'll give a free pick each and every day. No obligations, no nothing. And Hank and I have been doing very well. My preseason has been incredible, 12-3. Hit my game of the year in the preseason game of the year. Had the Yankees yesterday over the Dodgers, which is a nice underdog winner. Pretty excited about that. Looking forward to doing a podcast each and every day with different people and offering free information, free picks, and lots of great excitement for this football season. So we'll talk soon. Thank you.